Ah!
Hello.
Are we starting?
Test. All right, hold on. Come in the middle. Test. Right in the middle of us. Hello. What? Hey, you're listening to Amateur Hour. Back at you with another episode. I'm your host, James, and I'm joined here by my co-host, Josh.
Hello.
This is a podcast where it's supposed to be amateur filmmakers reviewing movies. We're amateur filmmakers. I've directed stuff. Josh has written stuff. Boom. Credibility. Today we're reviewing Disclosure Day.
This is Disclosure Day review.
Oh, I see what you did there. So Disclosure Day is an alien movie that came out the 12th of June, 13th of June. Anyway, we saw it last night, the 13th of June. I don't know when I'll get this uploaded. Hopefully today. We'll see. And it was just not good. Josh, give us your letterbox rating.
2 stars out of 5.
I believe I had the same.
You had 1 star.
I had 1 star?
Yeah.
Okay. I hated it even more than you did, I guess.
Yeah, he had 1 star. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Don't trust my letterbox ratings.
He doesn't know his own opinions.
Okay, so Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg was like, I'm just going to read the Wikipedia. Why use my ideas when I can just parrot others? In the summer of 23, Steven Spielberg spent 2 months writing a 50 to 60 page story outline that would serve as the basis of Disclosure Day. Spielberg was inspired by the 2017 article, Glowing Auras and Black Money, the Pentagon's Mysterious UFO Program, which he described as having rekindled his interest in aliens. Then it was in 24, it was publicly announced that he would be directing a UFO film based on his original idea with David Koepp. David Koepp screenwriting. David Koepp might be the worst screenwriter I've ever heard.
I mean, there are certainly worse. David Koepp is not good. I don't know how he keeps getting jobs. I don't know why Spielberg keeps working with it.
Give us all the good scripts that David Koepp has written.
Jurassic Park.
List all the bad films that David Koepp has written.
Wait, there's some other good ones. He also did Black Bag and War of the Worlds 2005, which is not great, but it's not bad. And that's it. That's all he's ever done. That's all the good stuff he's ever done.
List the bad things.
Everything he's done.
Yeah.
He did Jurassic World Rebirth. He did Disclosure Day. He did Kingdom of the Crystal Skull along with like 4 other people. I believe he also might have had a hand in Dial of Destiny, which also really awful.
Anyway, so we'll dive right into it. Disclosure Day begins. We don't know because we missed the first.
We were late.
We were on our way to the theater, and Joshua was like, "Man, James, I'm hungry. We gotta stop somewhere." And I thought the movie was at 9:50 as opposed to 9:30, so I was like, "Oh, we'll just leave at 9." So that's partially on me.
We were a couple minutes late.
So
now, from what I gather, the opening scene must have involved, because it's this guy Kilner, and he's stealing some government secrets. So I assume the opening is that he used a Snickers wrapper to disable the security systems in order to steal those secrets. Those are just my guesses from the previous David Koepp film I watched.
yeah, good guess.
But anyways, once we got there, they were just kind of driving around, and this guy Kilner had some secrets, some crazy secrets, and he was driving around with his girlfriend, who was apparently kidnapped. By this company, Warwick? Is that what they're called? Wardex?
Yeah, that's right, Wardex. So World War III is about to start. Against the North Koreans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh brought up that the North Korean, nobody cares about North Korea anymore.
Yeah, that's such a
overplayed.
It's a plot line from so long ago when world tensions were different.
Anyway, so Mr. Kellner, he steals the alien joystick. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a piece of technology.
He steals MacGuffin.
Yeah, so basically he steals this thing that if you hold it, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can mind control people. You can like force project, basically. You can turn invisible. Some crazy stuff.
Yeah, and he steals that, and then a bunch of like videos of aliens, and they escape from Wardex, and then I can't remember how they escaped. But anyways, they go to a convent that his girlfriend Jane used to be at, and then I guess we can keep on their plot line for a little bit. They're just kind of there talking, and she's like, "Bro, you got to tell me things." He's like, "Nah."
I'm not going to tell you anything.
And then he has the contact with this guy Hugo, and Hugo's this guy who just knows things because he
broke an alien out of prison.
Yeah, like 5 years ago, and so he just kind of talks to the alien, and the alien tells him what to do. And basically, him and his other guys, they're Wardex like,
ex-employees. They used to work for Wardex, and then they stopped working for Wardex.
Yeah, and so they want to
because they saw what Wardex was doing to the aliens and stuff. And they're like, "This isn't right," and we shouldn't be hiding this information. The whole world has to know about aliens for some reason. Everyone should know.
Yeah. And so eventually Hugo sends this random kid to go rescue Kilner and Jane, and they go to another safe house.
He's not a random kid, but I don't remember his name.
No, I'm just joking because he's kind of just a nothing guy.
Yeah, he looks cool. He looks like
just
he has aura.
Hugo henchman. Anyways, while all that's happening, we also meet Weather Lady. A Weather Lady, James.
Margaret Fairchild.
Thank you. And she's chilling with Wyatt. What's his name? Wyatt Russell. Kurt Russell's son, and
his name is Jackson. And they're talking about how Margaret is a weather lady and she wants to start doing like actual news, but she doesn't like living in Kansas City, Missouri. She's like, "We have to get out of here." And he's like, "We just moved here and you just wallpapered everything. What are you doing? You can't just leave a place every time things get hard." And then a little cardinal, a little red bird, flies in through the window and then just locks eyes with Margaret. And then Margaret starts speaking Russian.
Yeah. It's like, ooh, crazy.
So basically, the aliens disguise themselves as... Good one. The aliens... He just dropped a Lego. The aliens disguise themselves as animals in order to be less frightening to human beings.
Poorly CGI'd animals.
Yeah, they look terrible, dude.
Yeah, they look awful. But they're there. And so it's basically an alien shows up and locks eyes with her and unlocks.
What's crazy to me is that, like, Cats versus Dogs, for example, came out in 2004. And it looks significant. Every animal in that movie is not real and looks significantly better than this movie.
They're not real?
Yeah, the talking cat, the CGI talking cat.
This is news to me.
Mr. Whiskers or whatever his name is.
I thought he was a real guy. Anyway.
Mr. Whiskers! Dude, I love that movie. I forgot how good it was. Dude, earlier today we saw a dog in Raising Cane's that looked like Shin Godzilla. It was so freaky looking, dude. And we locked eyes, and its eyes were so wide and crazy.
It was staring into our eyes like the bird did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an alien.
Segue back.
Anyway, so the Cardinal locks eyes with her. She speaks Russian, and then Jackson's like, what the hell was that? And she's like, what? She thought she was speaking English. She's like, oh, nothing. We'll talk about it later. And she was just describing how you dropped it again.
I dropped a different piece.
She was just how did you drop the legs of the minifig, bro? She was just describing that she wanted to leave Kansas City. But it was in Russian. So the guy's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, we can discuss it later. And he's like, we can discuss how you were talking in Russian later? And she's like, I am late. So she just leaves. So Jackson's just really confused the whole movie. I kind of hate his character because he seems incompetent.
Yeah, so the thing with Jackson is that he's just here, and he spends like the first third of the movie being confused. And
he's just a roadblock.
and then Margaret leaves, and he's kind of out of the movie, and that's it. And I really think like we should either have given their relationship more attention and development, or just cut him out, because as it stands, he's useless in the film, honestly. But then she's going to work, and she gets pulled over by a policeman because she's driving fast, and she has some psychic powers. So when she looks in a person's eyes, she basically like...
She can tell everything they're thinking.
Yeah, and it's kind of...
And their past and history.
Yeah, it ties into the themes of empathy that Spielberg's going for, because we have a character later in the film tell us that empathy is good, and human's best gift. And that's basically her superpower. She can empathize and know what's happening with you.
But there's not really like a character that's opposed to empathy.
Yeah, I think it's really lame, honestly.
Because, most of the time, if the theme of the movie is like compassion, you have one guy who's just like really a dick. But that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, there's nothing crazy.
Theme kind of lame.
Thematically, it's just like, oh, empathy is a good thing that humans have. Thanks, Spielberg.
Anyway, so as she's going into work to do her weather report thing, she is stopped by a cop. The cop is like, hey, I'm going to give you a ticket. And she's like, hey, man, I know you're upset, and it's not your fault. Your wife's just stressed because of the baby, whatever. Basically telling him everything that he's thinking going on in his life, giving him advice based on what he's thinking. And he's like, what? And then she leaves the traffic stop. She's just like, I'm going to go now. And then she's freaking out. She's like, I don't know what that was. I don't know what's happening. Gets to work, runs inside, gets makeup done, is about to go on air. And then as soon as it goes live on her, she just starts like clicking.
Very good, James.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, she starts making clicking noises.
Alien language.
And everyone's like, whoa, what's up with that? And so they cut away from her, and then she collapses. I don't know why this happens. I couldn't tell you, because you could be like, oh, well, the aliens... Because he has a message, because Kilner is able to understand it later in the film. And he's like, oh, she's saying, like, don't be afraid. And it's like, well, why is the alien making her talk the crazy alien language?
Make her talk human.
Yeah, I would probably make her talk human while saying that. But it's also just like, I don't get it.
Talk human, talk English.
I don't get what the aliens are going for here. Because we'll find out later in the film. They basically kidnapped her and Kellner when they were children and imbued them with these crazy powers. Kilner's is lame, but we'll get into that. And her powers, like connection with humans and empathy and such.
The alien language doesn't really happen there's like two spots. Here, a continuation of this, like halfway through the movie, but it's just like talking about this scene more.
Yeah.
And then at the very, very, very end of the movie when an alien talks to her.
Yeah. And it's also just like, why'd the aliens make her say this on the news? And it's also like, because we'll find out at some point that there is an alien who is kind of orchestrating this to make Disclosure Day happen. It's like, well, it's pretty lucky when you kidnap that child. She ended up being on the news. Pretty lucky there.
So basically the aliens are like, all right, we want her to reveal herself so that Hugo can find her. Or actually, so she can find Hugo. But she doesn't really have to go on the news and reveal herself in that moment then.
Yeah, it's really...
Because she could just like... I mean, the alien, as a cardinal, goes into her apartment. So they know where she lives. They could have just like waltzed in there and been like, hey, can you come with us?
Yeah. Basically, the point is, things are happening. And if you think about it, there's no reason. It's just like, oh yeah, we're making things happen. It's not even worth really thinking about, like, oh, what are the aliens after? Why do they have this happen and this happen? The only reason things happen is so we can get a movie. And that's it. There's no actual consideration for the prior plans and the prior situations that set all of this story up. Just nobody cares. Nobody cared about all that constructing the story.
On to the next plot point. So Margaret, they take her to the hospital and they're like, what's going on? They give her a CAT scan and nothing's wrong with her. But as she's in there are some FBI guys, but they're actually Ward X guys.
She's like, oh, they're not FBI.
They're not FBI.
She can tell. She's magic.
She can read minds. And then she like walks up and then gleans a name, gleans Kilner's name off of the FBI guy. And then she's like, we have to get out of here. And her boyfriend, Jason, is just being difficult and just in the way. So they leave. They escape the hospital. She destroys her phone because Hugo calls her. So Hugo has her phone number somehow. Why they didn't just go to the hospital? They could have just... they knew where she was the whole day. They could have just gone to the apartment. They could have gone to the hospital. Could have grabbed her at any moment.
Then there's no movie.
So they got to make up all this...
random stuff.
Yeah.
And it's also funny when she breaks her phone because she's like, oh, they're going to track me. It's like, well, it's a good thing there's nobody else in the car who probably has a phone.
Yeah, destroyed the boyfriend's phone.
And then nobody in the movie thinks of this, including the bad guys. Because if they had just followed the phone, they would have found her.
And then at some point, the boyfriend... Okay, so they get to a gas station, and she's acting crazy, reads his mind again, and she's like, oh, you want me to leave Kansas City, and you're going to stay. You want me to move. So I guess that's... Oh, he doesn't really love her kind of thing. Doesn't really care about her. I think that was supposed to be the intention.
I don't get it, bro.
So then,
because at this point, she's like, we got to go track down this Kellner guy because she has a feeling about it.
And he's like, who the hell is Kellner?
Which is fair. And then he's like, all right, let me go get a water and then I'll drive you wherever you want to go. And so he goes in the gas station. He's like, he calls the hospital, I think.
Yeah, he calls the hospital and he's like, hey,
like, yeah, come pick us up.
Her
bro.
condition's getting worse.
I'll keep her here. And then when he comes out, she's gone.
I don't know. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious. But then that's it. He's done. His plotline's done.
Not in the movie anymore. I wonder how much he got paid for this.
I mean, he's a pretty famous actor, Wyatt Russell. It's very... I don't know. His character Jackson is just such a nothing character. I don't know. There's parallels in this a little bit to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where Fairchild is almost similar to Roy Neary in the way they're like affected by the aliens and changed by contact and then have to leave their family. But it's like, if you compare this to Close Encounters actually devotes a lot of time and effort to show why there's a disconnect between Roy and his family, and it makes it like an actually important part of the plot, instead of in this one it's just like a side note. But anyways, that's his storyline. Moving back to Kellner, he's at this safe house with his girlfriend Jane, and this is when we bring up our religious themes of the film, because Jane's like, all right, you got to show me what you stole. And he pulls up some videos of some aliens, and there's two. And the first one is that they open some like drawers at like a morgue, and there's some dead aliens.
What's funny is that it's Richard Dixon, and he's just trying to brag. He's like, yeah, we got these aliens. He's showing like a big TV star.
Yeah.
These aliens.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but later in the film, don't they say they don't tell the presidents about the aliens?
Well, okay, so they don't tell the presidents anymore because of like stuff that Nixon was doing.
Okay.
Because he was like, guys, look at these aliens. Aren't they cool? Let's have a martini.
But anyways, then the second video is they have this alien strapped into a chair, and they're just torturing him. They're just torturing him.
And he's screaming. He can't do anything.
He's screaming in pain and agony, and Kellner's like, this video's why I betrayed Wardex. And then Jane starts talking about how everyone's faith in like God and deities will be disrupted once they see the videos of these deities. And this doesn't track at all, because she just watched these little creatures get get just brutally tortured
Yeah.
and killed.
And she also still believes in God in this moment. It's not like she's like, God's not real.
So it's really heavy-handed, like, oh, we got to get our thematic dialogue in. She's like, oh, what are religious people gonna do when they see these crazy deities? And it's like, dude, you watch some creatures get like,
These aren't gods. These are just little guys.
they were not made in God's image. So it's just like really dumb thematic dialogue. I don't think it's very good at all, and the way it's brought up doesn't make any sense at all. It's like my first thought seeing these guys dead and getting tortured is like, losers. Not like, oh, look at those crazy deities, crazy powerful deities. Oh, that's crazy. So it's just dumb. But we're gonna periodically touch upon that theme. What part are we at? What's after this? Oh, doesn't he go outside to call
Yeah,
Hugo?
he goes to get in contact with Hugo, and then while he's contacting Hugo, let me check on the name of this guy.
There's a bad guy. Noah Scanlon. I'm gonna call him bad guy. So the bad guy, who's in charge of Wardex, is trying to track down all this information that was stolen, and so he uses one of the alien MacGuffins, because there's apparently 3 of them, and he's gonna use this to do some remote viewing on Jane. And he starts to use.
Well, first he tries to jump in on.
Yeah, he tries to jump in
Kellner.
on Kellner. But because Kellner has seen an alien, he can't be remote viewed. And so while he's doing this, he's just kind of talking to her. And I will say, I kind of like this scene. It's pretty weird the way it's done. Like, he shows up in the room with her, and they're talking, but we cut back to him every now and then, and it's like, it's clear that the remote viewing's hurting him, because he's having trouble breathing at points, or I think at one point it seems like he's having a seizure.
Yeah,
and then
and
he
they
has
have to
walk.
monitor they monitor his blood pressure, his heart
Yeah.
rate, that kind of thing.
So I think it's at least pretty cool that they, add that aspect of remote viewing. Like, it's not just some crazy easy thing to do. It just makes
Unless you've been visited.
just makes it a little more interesting. But eventually what the scene does is she gives them the information so they can track down where Kellner and her are. And then he's got a little bit of a mind control type thing with her, where if his agents can't stop Kellner, he can control her so she kills Kellner herself. But we'll get back to that in a couple minutes, because Kellner talks to Hugo, and Hugo's like, "Oh man, you can understand what Margaret is saying in the video, which means
That she said on the news in the alien language.
yeah, and he can understand it." So he's like, "Oh, you must have been visited by aliens too." And I don't know why he wouldn't know this. He's acting like this is news when he's like in contact with one of the aliens for 5 years. And we even find out later, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we find out that the alien wanted Kellner specifically because he was visited? James?
Say again?
I thought it was mentioned later in the film that Kellner was chosen specifically because he was visited by aliens.
Correct. Yeah, the alien that they stole from the prison that's in the wheelchair, he said to Hugo, he's like, that guy. I mean, like, he was selected by Wardex because, like, he went to prison for, like, cyber crimes, and then as soon as he got out of prison, he was recruited by Wardex out of the parking lot, and then worked for Wardex for a while. And then Hugo was told by the alien to show him these videos, and the alien was like, show Kellner the video specifically because Kellner was a chosen. We picked him up when he was a child and we put him in a thing.
Yeah, so in this scene, Hugo doesn't know Kellner's special and is like finding it out for the first time. But then later in the film, it seems like he had known the whole time, which is just like, all right, that's a really strange inconsistency to have. But then he's basically like, yeah, you're gonna meet up with Margaret Fairchild, and he talks to both of them, and he's pretty confident that they'll just magically find each other because the aliens give him like a sixth sense to track each other down. And then, oh no, the bad guys arrive at this warehouse.
Basically, okay, wait. So we skipped something a little important. So Noah, when he was projecting to Jane, he kept asking Jane all these questions, like, when you left today, where did you go? Did you take a right or a left? North or south? How far past this sign? Did you pass a river? And so he uses Jane to figure out where Kellner and Jane are, and then Jane tells them that Kellner is outside.
Yes. That's like one of the first things he asks is like, oh, where's Kellner? And she's like, oh, he's outside. So once the bad guys show up, all these agents, they pull up to the house and they start walking towards it. And then you think, hey guys, it might be worth looking around outside since that's where Kellner is.
And there's so many of the people, and they've set up like a perimeter. There's so many of these Wardex mercenaries, essentially. And they set up a perimeter around the house, and there's a big field, and then the house. And nobody thought to look behind them because Kellner's just running through the woods, and he's super loud, super, super obvious. He's not hiding behind anything. He's pretty out in the open.
Yeah.
And he's not spotted by a single one of these guards, one of these mercenaries.
They just don't think, oh, maybe he's behind us.
They're just lollygagging, dude.
And you may wonder, how does Kellner get out of this scenario when there's like 50 agents just around here, and he has no vehicle to escape or anything? So, you may be on the edge of your seat wondering how this happens. And so the really, really crazy, intelligent thing he does is he walks into the middle of all the cars, and he gets in a car and he drives off with it. And they just don't notice until he's already in the car.
He pulls forward and he's like, what am I doing? What am I doing? As he's driving. And I thought for a second, is he saying like, oh my God, I don't have a plan? Or is he being controlled? I think it's because he doesn't have a plan.
I think it's because he didn't have a plan.
Bad dialogue.
But it's like...
And then he runs into a tree, and then he throws the car into reverse and reverses into a different tree. Mind you, there wasn't a tree behind him when he pulled into the first tree.
Yeah, and at this point, because the agents are near him, they're all trying to open the car doors. And in just a second, they're just going to start shooting. Because we find out in this film pretty quickly, they're pretty okay with just killing this guy. Except when they can point blank shoot into the car. Or when right at the start of the scene, they just
Several
don't
people
think of
try
that.
to shoot him.
No, they don't shoot him at first. Even though if they did, they would have killed him. It takes a second before they all think of that. Because the henchmen in this film are just consistently dumb.
And they're inconsistent on do we kill this guy? Or do we keep him alive? Because in this scene, they are trying to kill him. But in a later scene... they don't. It's they have the opportunity to just walk in and shoot this guy in this hotel. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Anyway, so he drives his vehicle into the house and smashes through the front window, and then he goes over and picks Jane up, and Jane is just kind of zombified kind of thing. Throws her in the back of the car, and she has the knife in her sleeve. And then he gets back in the car right as the guys almost grab him. Just barely made it, and then drives out of the back of the house.
Yeah, I thought that part. I liked how it sounded in the theater
and
crashing through the house.
It did look good. The movie as a whole looked pretty solid, except for the CGI animals and the aliens. The aliens looked pretty bad. If the aliens weren't shown in a video. All the aliens that were in the government videos, that they're, the classified government videos, those all looked pretty good because those were practical.
I don't think they're practical. But
I thought they were.
They could have been. I didn't think they were. I just thought
maybe not the guys that were walking. But like
Oh, those look pretty bad.
they kind of look like stop motion. And at one point, okay, so there's this one scene where they're looking at a video. I think that's at the very end when they're, yeah, it's at the very end when they've released all the footage through the news. And there are these U.S. soldiers and generals with umbrellas and these aliens, and the aliens are walking, and they kind of look like bow-legged. So that like
Yeah.
and then it looks like one of the soldiers like mocks them and walks in the same way, which I thought was kind of funny.
They just walk funny and they look really stupid.
But if any scene where an alien is not in a if it happens, if we're seeing the aliens through like a video, then they look okay. But if we see an alien like actually in real time, like when the alien is talking to Margaret at the very end of the movie, or when we see a flashback, the aliens look really bad. They look... Should I mention that one movie? I'll mention it. There's a really funny movie called Trump versus the Illuminati, and it's not like a documentary or like a serious movie. It's like a 3D PlayStation animation video game type of thing, and where the aliens work for Satan, and they're fighting a 3,000-year-old clone of Donald Trump.
Yeah, made by China.
Yeah.
It's an incredible film. It comes highly recommended from this podcast, Trump versus the Illuminati.
It is really funny.
There's like you'll never see anything like it. But anyways, it's this really like poorly animated like 3D Blender models.
And they reuse the same like shots over and over again.
But it's really funny because at the end of the film, we see Satan himself, who's just an alien.
And he's in a wheelchair.
And the alien at the end of this film reminded me so much of that moment from the hit film Trump versus the Illuminati. It was kind of jarring, honestly. Kind of took me out of the film a bit. I was like, oh, yeah, that's from Peak. That's from Peak. I know that from Peak. Because at the end of this film, we see the aliens also in a wheelchair, which I just think is a pretty funny image in general. James pulled it up. Pulled up an image of it. Anyways, where were we? James, where were we? James, you're keeping us on track on this one.
Okay, so he throws the girlfriend in the car, and then they're driving, and then Noah takes over Jane and goes to stab Kellner. And then Jane like tries to take over, so Jane and Kellner are like fighting back and forth, like for control. And then there's this cut in Jane's hand that she stabs the knife into, and then that like causes pain to Noah, and he like releases control. This cut that's in Jane's hand was basically from a cross that she was wearing. Crucifix. She was wearing a crucifix, and while Noah was holding the device and controlling her, he was like holding the device in his right hand and like clenching it, and then that was causing Jane to clench the crucifix in her hand, which caused like this cut. I don't know what the metaphor symbology of that is, but
yeah, I don't know either.
Anyway, so Jane's free and she doesn't end up stabbing Kellner. And then they take this side road and they end up in like this quarry. And they almost drive off a cliff on accident. Then they hop out of the car and they go to start running.
There's one really dumb part here because it's like, oh man, the cars are right behind them. How are they going to escape? Well, you see Kellner drives past this bridge, and on the bridge there's like some sort of wooden block. And one of the cars following them, the very first one, hits the block and then blocks the road so they can't follow them like right behind them. And it's just like, all right. Just, right. How do they escape the henchmen when they're right behind them? Well, one of them forgets how to drive and then blocks the road. And that's all that happens. And then once they're at the cliff, eventually the other guys catch up to them because they figured out how to get past this self-made blockade, because the henchmen are all dumb. But meanwhile, Kellner and Jane came up with this crazy clever idea to put a rock on the gas pedal and have the car go off the cliff, and then they hide behind a rock, so that when the henchmen show up, the henchmen go, "Oh man, they must have driven off the cliff." And my question is, like, if these guys were following them and tracking them down, and they could probably see them in the distance, they should know that the car wouldn't have just gone off over the cliff, and that they're probably just nearby. But they don't look nearby. They look over the cliff like, man, I can't believe they did that. Because they're all stupid.
And then Kellner and Jane just like walk away 5 feet away.
They're like 10 feet away behind a rock. And it's like, I'm sure you could probably hear them walking off. So that's how they escape from the bad guys in this scenario. And then they stop at an inn, which is called Indiana. Indiana Jones reference. Oh. But anyways, they're at this inn, and Kellner calls Hugo again, and Hugo's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna send my random kid to come get you soon." And so Kellner's talking to Jane, or he thinks he realizes like, oh, the bad guy can do remote viewing, so I better take away all the things in this room that say where we're at, which is pretty clever, and I liked that. Like there's a phone and it says on it like, oh, Indiana. There's some other like just things that say where they're at. So he hides it all, which is pretty clever because right now she's in the bathroom, and then when she comes out, she's like, okay, tie me up because I can't be trusted now. So he does so. So it's like, oh man, they've taken some precautions so that the crazy remote viewing power can't be used again, which is pretty clever on their part, and I really like that. However, Kellner falls asleep, and in his hand, he has a piece of paper that he wrote some math on that says Indiana.
And the math is basically the written version of what the aliens said through Margaret. So basically, the alien language is the universal language of math.
Ooh, stupid. But anyways, it's really annoying. It's really frustrating because it's like, oh, both of them are being really clever just to ensure this thing they know happens won't happen. It's like, oh, well, Kellner fell asleep with a piece of paper that says it. It's like, oh, all right. So we just took all of that. We took that scene of them being intelligent and trying to stop this from happening. We just made it happen anyways. Great job. Great screenwriting. And so then the agents show up, and they happen to show up basically at the same time that Hugo's henchman shows up, random kid. And then the agents start knocking on the door, and Kellner's like, okay, I'm going to send Jane away with this paper which has the thing and then also the magical MacGuffin. And honestly, like, I think this part's kind of dumb in a way, and I think you know, maybe could defend it, but he basically sends Jane off with all this stuff to sacrifice himself. And it's like, dude, Jane's incompetent. Jane can be, like, literally controlled. If you actually care about getting this stuff out there, the best thing you can do is take it yourself. And honestly, at this point, like, Jane she doesn't have anything. And I get he could be worried about them, like, killing her or something, but I would say it's definitely better for him to have just taken the stuff and left himself.
Genuinely crazy that he allowed her to go with him. She should have just stayed at the nun, at the church. I was going to say at the nunnery. The nunneseum.
But yeah, he lets her go on this adventure and then sends her to keep going without him. And it's like, dude, You're just continuing to endanger her by putting this crazy magic MacGuffin in her hand, and sending her along. And especially when, like, he's just gonna mind control her, be like, "Oh, where are you?"
Yeah, and he doesn't do it again.
Yeah, because they capture Kellner, and they're like, "Oh, MacGuffin's not here," so they bring him in for questioning, and the bad guy's like, "Hey, buddy, where's my MacGuffin?" And Kellner's like, "Well, I don't have it." And so it never occurs to the bad guys
To just mind control the girlfriend.
They
right
never
there.
think, like, they're like, "Oh, what could he have done with the MacGuffin?"
Surely.
It's not like he was with someone else who is now missing. It's not like that happened. Who he really likes and could have given the MacGuffin to. Surely he didn't do that. And the bad guys literally just forget about Jane. And honestly, after this interrogation scene, they forget about the MacGuffin too. It's really sloppy. It's like, all right, they just forget about the thing they want. Cool.
Because, like, that's what they were going for, you know?
Yeah, crazy MacGuffin that lets you do literally anything the script requires, and they give up on it because they forget.
They're like, oh, at least we have the files. The other thing is alien technology. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
And it's also like, why did Kellner not send Jane away with the files either? Because it's just all of his files are in a backpack, and he just keeps those in the room. And she's even like, what about the files? And he's like, no, just go. It's like, well, if you're going to send her away with the magic MacGuffin and such, you might as well give her the files. But he doesn't, because he's stupid also, along with everyone in this film. And you may wonder, well, Kellner's been captured. How could he possibly escape? And what happens is Margaret Fairchild gets a magic sense that says, oh, Kellner's here. And she walks into the base, basically. And everyone just kind of watches her do this. And nobody stops her at first. And it's like,
Whole military base.
hey, guys, this is kind of one of the people you're after, right? We're going to try and stop her?
And, like, there was the guy at the front gate that she went in. And this also, there was a scene in here where the whole movie is kind of, there's like some motion blur going on, where a lot of the scenes are kind of blurry. And this is where I noticed it the most. Because when Margaret passes by this road that Kellner's, in the facility that Kellner's being kept at, she pauses and then it shows like a sign and you can't read the sign, like, at all.
Yeah, and it's like, this film was shot on film, which normally, adds a little bit of grain to how things look. But this was...
It looked very digital.
This was different, where it seemed more like actually blurry than just grainy or a stylistic choice. I don't know why that happened. Maybe it was just the theater we're in. Who's to say? But I did notice that too, and I thought it was weird. But anyways, Fairchild walks into where they're interrogating Kellner, and she appears to Villain as his dead wife, and he's like, "Oh man."
Well, this. Oh yeah. Sorry.
And he basically just lets them go.
And she walks up to Kellner and like holds his hand, which we see later. That's what she did when they were children, and they both got abducted by the aliens. She went and held out her hand, and when they hold hands, she's like, "I know you," and he's like, "I know you too," but they don't know from where.
Yeah. And then, they're walking out of the base, and my goat villain henchman is like, "Do not let them leave the base." And then I don't know why he doesn't do anything to stop him, but whatever. He tells everyone else to stop him, and then she appears to some of them as like their loved ones and tells them things basically to like get them off their back. And it's like, she only talks to like 3 people, really, with her magic power, and there's like 100 people out there. And it's like, you're telling me those 3 people who let him go are enough to cause all the bad guys to just let them go?
I think my assumption was that it was like happening in in split seconds. Because like people did walk up to her and then they just backed up.
But we also know it only happens. The power only happens if she looks in their eyes. So like you're telling me there wasn't like just people who didn't look directly in her eyes out of these 100 people. It's like they're willing to kill earlier. Not one of them just like starts threatening him or tries to shoot him.
They gotta have a sniper somewhere on this
Nothing
base.
crazy like that. And also they've had access to the alien technology for 80 years and they don't have anything to stop magic powers when they know they have like remote viewing. They've got nothing for any of that. It's like, yeah. So they just leave. They just head out because of magic, which I don't think makes much sense at all. And then villain henchman is like, all right, well, I'll do it myself. So he goes and grabs a gun, and then he grabs some car keys. And Margaret and Kellner drive off in their car, and they stop at a train track. And they're just sitting there talking about their powers. And basically the important things that we hear here is that Kellner's magic ability he gained from viewing a cardinal alien was that he can understand math, the world's language. You may think, wow, very interesting. How will this come up in the film? And that'd be a good question if this was a well-made film. Because it's really just there. We literally do nothing with it. And he's like, oh, because I see all these patterns and such, it makes it hard for me to interact with other human beings. And it's like, well, are we ever going to see that reflected in the film? No. So it's just like, yeah, he has powers. They don't do anything. We're not going to see them. It's really dumb. But while they're sitting there chatting, old villain henchman just drives into their car and pushes them into the train. And eventually he rams them so that the car gets stuck to the train and they have to climb onto the moving train while another train is coming the opposite direction that's going to hit him. And while the goat, villain henchman, is also driving and shooting them while he's driving. And honestly, I thought it was a neat action sequence. There was a little bit of life there. I thought it was really cool just seeing the henchman doing random stuff. Like he was driving with no hands on the wheel, just shooting them. Like that level of crazy coolness, you never rarely see anymore in films. Just absolute cool guy. But eventually they get on the train and then they're kind of fine. What happens next, James? James?
Sorry, I got distracted by aliens.
Oh, wait. I think
it cuts to Hugo in the facility and they're constructing a house.
Yeah, so the whole time we've seen Hugo in this film, he's got his henchmen like building a house. And you may wonder, what's up with that? We'll find out soon. But while he's talking, he gets like this sense that like, oh,
I'm about to be dropped in on.
Bad guy's calling me with his magic remote viewing powers. So he sends everyone out of the room.
That he uses with the device.
Yeah. And then bad guy shows up and he has a talk with the bad guy. And he's like, yeah, bad guy, empathy is such a great human thing. And you're trying to stomp that out. Themes. Excellent writing. Humanities are empathetic. And that's what the aliens like. We're cool beings. I think it's really lame if you can't tell the thematic conclusion of this film. But yeah, they're talking and he's talking about like how the bad guy changed when his wife died and now he's kind of a mean and evil person. And honestly, like I don't believe that he would have changed after his wife died because this company's just been torturing aliens. And
since the 70s.
They seem to be pretty evil, so I think it's just kind of dumb to be like, oh, you've changed when your wife died. It's like, I don't know. If he was just working for this company the whole time, I feel like he was probably a pretty bad guy in general. But Then he's like, "Oh, Hugo, you broke that alien out 5 years ago. You lied to me." And Hugo's like, "Yep." It's like, "All right, cool. I guess that happened." And then they're talking, and it seems like bad guy wants to know where Hugo is, right? But because he's in this random built house, he can't figure it out. And then what happens? But Hugo's henchmen walk in the room, and he sees them, and he goes, the bad guy sees him and goes, "Ah," and he stops remote viewing, and he goes and is like, "Okay, let's find these guys, and then we'll find Hugo."
For reference, earlier in the film, when Hugo didn't show up to work and they were looking for Kilner, they were like, "Find out how many people didn't show up for work today." And there were 13 people, 13 Wardex employees total that did not show up to work that morning,
Actually,
including...
it was 12.
No, it's 13.
Oh, including Hugo?
I think it was 13 including Hugo.
Including Hugo.
Yeah.
Fine.
It might be 13, might be 12, 6, 7, who cares? So
anyways.
they were looking for the 13. 13 people didn't show up. At the start of the film, when these 13 people didn't show up, their first thought wasn't track all of them, figure out where they are. They were just like, okay, 13 people didn't show up.
Well, that sucks.
That's unfortunate. I guess
Nothing we can do.
Guess fire them, maybe. I don't
Nothing
know.
we can do. And then once bad guy sees him in this scene, he's like, "Oh,
He sees 2 of the people.
those are 2 of the people who didn't show up to work. Let's track them down."
Why didn't you just track down all 13 of
Did
them
we not-
from the start?
Did we not think of this earlier? Did you not consider this earlier?
Let's see. Hugo, the guy who was running a lot of the experiments, didn't show up for work today. Kilner just stole this magical alien device, alien technology, and a bunch of the files, and 11 other people didn't show up for work today? Huh. That seems you'd think you'd maybe check on those 11 other people.
Nah, there's nothing they can do. But anyways, he tracks down the 11 other people. And you might think, well, it's probably going to be difficult to track them because they've been planning on this operation for like seemingly at least 5 years.
It's super easy.
So you might imagine it would be difficult to track these guys down. But what they do is they look at their phone information and they see, their phones were last turned on in this location, which is where they currently are. And it's just like, dude, are we serious? Just such a dumb moment. Like, we find them because their phones were here. And it's like, they work for the company. They know they can do this, but they're just too stupid to have actually done anything about it. And so now Hugo knows that these guys are going to be after them, right? So what does Hugo do? What does Hugo do to prepare for the bad guys showing up who are willing to kill people? He doesn't do anything. They just keep going as planned.
So then they go into the house and they bring Margaret in there. Well, actually,
we have to get to another part. Basically,
you talked about how they got on the train, right?
Yeah. But what they do is they get off the train and they're walking around, and then Hugo finds them, and his henchman, random kid, finds them, and they're in fire trucks, and they're like, "Oh, it's you guys. We thought you were the bad guys." And it's a moment to kind of fool the audience for a sec, being like, "Oh, they got caught again," but it's like, "Oh, it's the good guys." And then you go, "Well, how'd they find him?" Don't worry about it. They just did. They found him magically, because that's what this film is. That's what this film's about. Is nothing making sense. So they bring him to the house. They bring him to this warehouse where they've built the house. And Margaret's like, "Whoa, that's my parents' house. I grew up in that house. Why are you guys building my house?" And they're like, "Well, we tried to construct it as best we could," which is a really funny line because they have like pictures from inside the house. It's like seemingly a super accurate house. Like, got the parents' photos. I don't know if they contacted her parents and went, "Can we get these photos from her childhood home?" And they said yes. It's really funny. But then there's kind of a funny part where one of the people there makes the sign of the cross and like kneels down in front of Margaret. She's like, "I won't be anyone's religion," and runs in the house. I don't know why that was added.
I thought it was kind of weird. Didn't make sense.
Well, I probably wouldn't treat her as a religion either when I'm aware that she was just kind of given these powers by other people. She's just kind of a person still. And that person who bowed down should know it. And it's also like why is she doing the sign of the cross and bowing down? It's just really confused thematics. I don't get it. I don't get it much. Anyways, she goes in the house. She's like, "Oh man, my childhood home," and she's kind of freaking out as you would. And then Hugo's like, "Hey man, we need you to use magic device to look into your repressed memories of a traumatic event you had when you were a child." She's like, "No, I don't. I don't want to do that." And he's like, "Yeah, Kellner was there too." "You was there too, McQueen."
Fun fact.
What? Oh, yeah. Anyways, so then they're like, "Can you please look at the traumatic event? Because if you do that, you'll be able to know how the future is going to go if you understand the past." And she's like, "All right." So they sit down and they hold Magic MacGuffin, and they're hooked up to some machines, and then they do some viewing on their past. And they basically explain the reason they built the house was to make it easier for her to look at the past. And it's like, well, what about Kellner?
Yeah, Kellner blocked it out as well.
He doesn't get a house built? And they're like, nah, they don't care. They don't care about Kellner at all, honestly. Poor guy. He got left out of this one. He also had a crazy magic experience. But anyways, so they see their past, and basically what happened was Margaret was a little child, and she was in bed. And then there's a deer in front of her, and a raccoon, and a fox, and a cardinal. Poorly CGI'd animals, by the way. And also...
And earlier in the film, whenever they see animals, they lock eyes with them, and then they can't look away until the animal looks away. And I think if that happens, then that means that animal was an alien, right?
Yeah.
Or is it just all animals?
No, I think aliens. I think those ones were all aliens. So there was one other deer where it happened early in the film. So could have been an alien. It doesn't matter. Served no purpose. But anyways, they're like they see this memory, and basically Kellner's in the memory and he's kind of scared, and she holds his hand like, "Oh, don't be scared. They're just friendly aliens." And the aliens are like grabbing their face and such, and, you know, using some magic rocks to beam things into their eyes. And one of the gripes I kind of have with this moment is it's not scary. It's not treated as kind of a horrifying thing, because it is like a traumatic event that they're going to block out for the rest of their lives. But the film doesn't treat it with that gravitas, that fear, which I'm really disappointed in, because that's one of my favorite parts of, as we discussed, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, is how scary they treat the aliens, because that film understands that the unknown, even though, like, in that film it's kind of this wondrous thing, the unknown's also extremely frightening, and this film doesn't understand that at all. It's just like, oh no, these are crazy cool animal alien guys, and they're super awesome and all inspiring and chill, and it's like, this should be treated way differently, and I really wish it was. But yeah, basically they just get to witness that they were abducted together when they were kids and imbued with magic powers, and that's it. That's kind of the end of that sequence. Then the bad guys show up, and it's like, okay, so the whole film, Hugo built this thing, this house, for her to view the past. And it's like, well, what does that really do? Not much. But once she views the past, she's like, oh, I'm gonna go tell the world about aliens. So I don't know, it just feels kind of like a pointless plot line to me a little bit, because she could have just done that anyways. Not that much really changes. But anyways, the bad guys show up. Oh no, whatever are we gonna do? And so Margaret grabs MacGuffin and uses it to turn all of them invisible. What? So the bad guys are like, hey, nobody's here. and they're using like some heat signature things, and they're like, man, this is strange. It seems like they're here. And eventually they start just walking towards the house, and some of them hit the house while the other people are going out the back doors. And they all get in the fire trucks and they leave and they escape. And then the magic MacGuffin disintegrates because she used all the magic to make them invisible. And it's just like, yeah, that's a thing it does now, I guess, because this MacGuffin kind of just does whatever. It's like, look at repressed memories, mind control people, do remote viewing, which those three kind of track with each other in a way. Like, oh, it has to do with, mind powers and stuff like that. But then there's also turn people invisible. And there's also turn on electronics. And it's like, well, those are just, we need them to happen for the plot to happen instead of actually making the powers consistent and, well done. I just think it's stupid. They're just plot devices, basically. But anyways, they escape and they head to the Kansas City news station. And Jane also figured out to come here. So she's going to show up in a couple minutes. And they show up, and Margaret uses her powers to basically tell people, like, get in people's heads so they'll start helping them. And they set it up so she's going to present the news. And it's like, oh, look at that. She wanted to be a news anchor early in the film, and she's going to be a news anchor now to tell about the aliens. Isn't that a crazy development on her part? Not really. I think it's lame. I think it's pretty lame. It's like, yeah, I guess that tracks. It's not very interesting, though. There's nothing special or crazy about it. And so Kellner's also getting the videos all ready. And while this is happening, the bad guys are like, all right, let's shut down the power. So they shut down the power. For some reason, when we cut back to Kellner, his files he's downloading are still downloading, even though it should have shut down the system and restarted it. But whatever. He's still downloading stuff. And then they're like, well, now we're going to cut off the backup power. And so they do that too. And then they walk in the room and they're like, we got you guys. You got no power. You can't broadcast. And it's like, oh, we did it. Oh, the bad guys did it. They can't do anything. And then Jane shows up with the other MacGuffin and gives it to Margaret and is like, all right, tell everyone the truth. And Margaret points her MacGuffin at all the TV screens and they all turn on. It's like, oh man. And so what does bad guy do? He sits down in defeat and he's like, all right, well, I guess they're going to release it. And then his henchman, James, what does his henchman say?
Are you not going to stop them?
Yeah.
And then
the henchman storms.
The guy's just silent, and then the henchman storms out.
He storms off with all the bad guys, and it's like, oh, whoa.
Just like shoot her.
Why don't you stop her? Don't you all have guns? Why don't you guys do something? And they don't, because that would end the movie. So it's basically just like, oh, why do the good guys win? Well, the bad guys just gave up and walked off, even though they're right in front of them.
And what could have just made this simple, made it make sense, is if the MacGuffin, the magical alien tech, it could already mind control people. It could make people invisible, force project you. You could have just established early in the movie that you can use it to like stop people from moving, and maybe she could have did that because she's already proven that she's pretty powerful. Now that, she's unlocked her past, she's pretty powerful using that. She can make an entire house and group of people invisible. The two fire trucks go off in different directions and they both remain invisible. So, maybe you could just like, stop all of them from moving. And if you establish that early in the movie, would have been a pretty smart way to...
But James...
make it not look like they just gave up.
But James, we need the henchmen to be consistently stupid.
Stupid, yeah, so true.
So they just leave instead. And that's the conflict of the movie's done. And so they put on the TV, she's like, this is disclosure day. I'm going to show you all the alien videos. And they put on the alien videos, and then it gets picked up by a bunch of broadcast networks. And they're like, man, look at these aliens.
Did you tell earlier in the film how Hugo was like, you cannot
Yeah,
put
I
this on
forgot
the
this
internet.
part. So there's something that happens way early in the film where Kellner's talking to Hugo, and he's like, why didn't I just dump all the files on the internet? And Hugo's response is, you cannot, under any circumstance, do that. And they bring it up a second time, because Jane's like, why do we dump it on the internet? And he goes, no, we can't do that. And you think, once you hear those lines, is, well, I hope they give us a good explanation for why that is sometimes before this film ends. And they don't. And the reason why is because this is a boomer movie made by boomers for boomers who believe that people like still watch the news religiously and don't use the internet all the time. It's really like this plot line may have worked like 20 to 30 years ago, but it just does not work. It's super tone deaf. It does not work in this day and age. And it's like, you should not set a story in this time and then address the internet, but never explain why you can't just do that. And instead, you have to throw everything on the news. You have to put it on the news. Nobody believes the internet. Everyone believes the news these days. But that's kind of the core crux of why the film is going on. Which I think is really dumb. It's really poorly written. They can't even give us an answer for why things are happening or for why we have to do the news. It's because it's a boomer movie. But anyways, they put it on the news and they show all the videos, and everyone in the world, including all the soldiers gearing up for World War
They're all
III.
staring at their phones. Pisses me off, dude. Active war zone, you're staring at your phone? That's not...
All the people walking around New York, all the people flying in airplanes, all of them are on their phones looking at the news, looking at the aliens. And it's like, this film is so out of touch with reality, with what the modern people are. Because first off, not everyone's going to believe that at all. And there's a funny line where one of the big news sources, they don't verify this information. They just go, we got to throw it on, bro. But they go, is this AI? And someone goes, all the pixels are real. And that's it. And they're like, all right. They move on with that. Like everyone in the world is just going to automatically believe all this is what we're going with. Which is just not true. That's not how things would work. And it's also funny that like, we're making all the people in the world like just glued to their phones, glued to the news that's going on. And it's like, this film exists in a world that's not real. Which is just sad. It's out of touch. I really don't like it at all. But we really get a long sequence where some newscaster is like, oh man, I'm watching all this crazy videos with aliens. Ooh, I don't even know what to say. And this goes on for like 5 minutes. And it's like, who's this random newscaster? Why wouldn't we listen to like Emily Blunt's character, who's been the main character? Why wouldn't we listen to the main character be doing all this? But instead we have to listen to random person. Yeah, so we listen to this random person talking about stuff. And it's just like, it goes on for way too long. And they're showing a bunch of clips of like, look at the spaceships. One of them's a triangle, which is just like X-Files. And I was like, ooh, that's just like thing I've seen. I thought that was fun. But then Hugo wheels in the alien he broke out five years ago. And the alien's in a wheelchair, which is really funny. And he gets up and he makes some clicking noises to Kilner and Margaret. And then Margaret goes in front of the TV and she's about to translate his message and she says, listen. And then the movie ends.
And I wish.
Okay.
I don't know. Something that bothered me was that when the alien, like, looked at Kilner and was like, Kilner looks at Margaret, and instead of Margaret reading his mind, Kilner whispers into his ear what the alien said.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, whatever.
I think it would have been more impactful and, if she
Consistent.
consistent. If she just like stared at him and then just turned towards
Just
the
understood.
camera.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. Yeah, that's it. It it ends. Movie's done. And do we have any conclusions, James?
Man, dude, it sucked.
Has Unc lost it?
Unc lost it, and whoever designs these posters, I haven't seen a single good poster.
Yeah, the
for
posters
Disclosure
for this
Day.
film have not
They look
been good.
Awful.
And I guess it's kind of sad. Like, this might be John Williams' last score.
And it was unmemorable.
Yeah, there was a couple moments where I enjoyed listening to it, but there was no like memorable theme, like a lot of his other works. But it was cool hearing it in the theater, I guess.
There was this one scene where a crop circle appears, and when that happened, Josh mentioned that the score got pretty solid. It was cooking.
Score was hidden.
And I saw the crop circles, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's an alien movie. Let's go. I thought that a spaceship was going to show up and aliens were going to show up. Nope.
No, it just happened.
I've been joking that it's just like a broadcast media thriller.
Which it is, and it shouldn't be.
It should be an alien movie. It's not an alien movie. Aliens are there, but this is like it's like if you said Jurassic Park was about the Costa Rican government. I'm talking about the book. If the Jurassic Park book was about the Costa Rican government, it's not about the Costa Rican government. The Costa Rican government is there in the novel. There's got to be a better example of what I'm trying to say.
I understand what you're going for.
This is like
did it really poorly.
It's like
the film Jaws is not a shark movie. It's a
4th of July film.
It's a film about mayoral politics.
Oh yeah, that's a good example.
There you go.
Okay, thanks.
That's a good example.
I was also thinking about Jaws at the same time. My words weren't working.
Yeah. Sure, buddy. He's lying. I'm too clever. He did not think of that. But yeah, man, that's the film. I really like. It looks good at times. There's obviously the bad CGI. It sounds cool in the theater. I thought it's always great seeing something in the theater and it sounds cool. I don't have much else to praise. Performances were good. Characters were largely uninteresting. Some of them were pointless. Most of them were stupid. So that's it. I don't have much else to say, honestly. It's a huge disappointment, especially since I was very excited to see it, especially since it seemed to be in a similar vein to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but it's just more slop, like we get every day from Hollywood. Anything else to say, James? James?
No, man, this stuff sucks.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Well, this has been another episode of Amateur Hour. Thank you for tuning in. I would say don't go see Disclosure Day if you're looking for a good movie.
Just don't see anything. Don't go to the movie.
Rewatch The Mummy or Crocodile Dundee 2.
I believe Raiders of the Lost Ark is coming back to theaters soon. Check that out.
Movie's just not good in theaters anymore. Hopefully we'll see The Back Room soon and review that. We're going to do War of the Worlds, hopefully, if I can lock in.
Yeah.
So more videos coming for it to you this summer.
It's really depressing seeing someone who used to have like his thumb on the pulse of blockbuster media putting out slop like this. That's just poorly written and uncreative and not thought out well at all. It's really depressing, honestly. Especially with how good a lot of his older films are, but that's the state of media discourse we're at right now, unfortunately. But anyways, you've been listening to the old Amateur Hour. James, what's your spiel? You did dishes.
Yeah. Hopefully you did dishes.
Dishes or
Hopefully
something.
maybe we helped you fall asleep, or you did laundry, you played with Legos, did some homework, whatever. Thank you for tuning in. You guys mean the world. And we'll see or we'll talk to you, I guess. We'll talk to you later.
Bye. Click, 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 click.